but here's a little bit about Mr. Bhatia.
Bhatia is a successful Canadian entrepreneur and owner of the top Hyundai dealership in Canada. However, he's probably most recognized for being a very passionate basketball fan and is known as the NBA Toronto Raptors superfan. It's a fascinating story. Nav migrated to Canada and his teens to enroll in mechanical engineering at California State. To pay for his education, he worked as a janitor, landscaper, and even delivered newspapers. By the end of his first year, he had established his own janitorial business. He continued operating his business following graduation and also worked with a car dealership, first as a salesman, then finance manager, and finally becoming general manager. In recognizing his success, the company asked him to manage a struggling dealership that was on the verge of bankruptcy. In only 3 short years, the outlet had become the top Hyundai dealership in Canada. Today, Nav owns the top grossing Hyundai dealerships in Canada, with outlets in Mississauga and Rexdale. He is the official South Asian ambassador for the NBA Toronto Raptors, and is probably the most notable celebrity that is not Drake or a player or coach. Nav has been instrumental in promoting diversity in the team, giving back to the community, and building awareness for Sikhs. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nav Bhatia.
I wanted to start my speech, but after hearing Dr. Sadiq, I'm really, really moved. I'm a prouder Sikh today after hearing it. I'm not a PhD. I'm just a graduate in mechanical engineering, but I'm so proud. And I'm prouder because he's a Sikh and he's a good Sikh. I'm proud of him. Please give him a big applause. His story is of an educated guy, my story is of an unpad guy. So that's the difference. So I salute you, sir, making us proud and reaffirming myself that anything can be done with the turban and beard. You know, I'm not starting my speech yet. I'm just going to give some remarks. Here's earlier, Guneet said something, branding. You know, company spends billions and billions of dollars. Even people know Mercedes is a very good car or this, but they spend millions of dollars. You know why they spend? Because they want to do their branding. For God's sake, the Sikhs who are born in Sikh family, we are given that birthright of branding. We are born with the biggest branding on earth. But some of the other, we don't use that branding in our favor. We go pay $15, $20 to get it done. Let's not do that. I'm very proud that it can be done with all the young guys sitting around who's our future. I live for them now. I have enough for myself. At the end of the day, you only need 5 turbans, 5 suits, 5 watches. You need a couple of tickets at the Raptors. I have 10 anyway. but you know what? I have enough. But I use. And I'm going to share that with you. That how you can be a proud Sikh. Branding. Since we are using the name Sikh American Chamber of Commerce, we got to make sure that we are Sikhs. And I'm going to give you a few things to inspire, not to pick on anybody, but to inspire you that we are sons and daughters of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and we should behave like that. Why we want to delude ourselves into the other things? We don't know. People should identify this is a Sikh and I can get a help from him. Story of Sunny was amazing. Sunny would have not been Sunny today if he wouldn't have taken that brochure and seen the picture of Professor Duggal. My purpose is, all I'm trying to request you, my brothers and sisters, is be proud of your identity. If you're born in Sikh, be a good Sikh. If you're born in Hindu, be a good Hindu. If you're born in Christianity, be a good Christian. If you're born in Islam, be a good Muslim. Because at the end of the day, if you ask all the four priests of different, you ask an imam, you ask a pandit or a Gurdwara Bhai, and ask them to write 4 principles. You know, we have more in common than difference. And Sikhs, what can I say about them? This started the branding when Guru Gobind Singh Ji, when the Muslim people came to Guru Gobind Singh Ji and asked to change every Hindu into Islam. Guru Gobind Singh Ji sacrificed his dad. There would have been no Hindus if there were the Sikhs would have given the sacrifice on that time. So, you know, we should be very proud of who we are. And we can do anything we want the way we are. We have examples right in this room. Anyway, I'm going to get back to that. Now let me start my speech.
You just wanted to make sure I didn't put that in the timing.
It is not in the... I will, as soon as the people start, they don't want to hear me, I'm going to sit down. So even if it's after 5 minutes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me here, inviting me here, and being a part of Sikh American Chamber of Commerce Gala. Thank you for having me to speak to you and be a part of it. I'm really, really humble and honored at the same time. During the last couple of days, I have met a couple of your members, few of your members, and I've understood the vision and the goals you have. They are amazing, and they can be done. And they're doing it. Salute to Sikh American Chamber of Commerce. I really want you to applaud for them, big one, because this is a good start. We've got to support them in this to expand it. We've got to expand it everywhere. I support it. Now, they have asked me, when they called me, they said they want to hear my story. Like I said, usually I joke about myself. I said I'm a high school dropout. What story I have? I have a very simple story. I have a very, Dr. Saab was saying, keep it simple. Well, Dr. Saab, my story is simple. But it exploded on 20th of April when New York Times put me on the front of sports page and full page coverage they gave it to me. First time a South Asian and especially a Sikh getting that kind of an exposure, and I had all the media on my dealership waiting for the interviews and all that. But that's not where my story started. My story started when I was 16 years old. One day, my mother, Ammiji, we were 4 brothers. My father was busy earning the money. We had a industry in India, in New Delhi. But my mother was the one who was the caretaker. I was the third in line, son. When I was 16, my mother called me and said, Put, I need to talk to you. I need 2 promises from you. You know the promises they asked me? She asked me 2 things. बेटा तू सिखों दे घर पैदा होया और सिखों मुके नहीं लगना तू उम्र पर और दूजा हर एक मां की खास होती है कि पुत्र अपने प्यो के नहीं लगे दूजा उन्हें क्या पुत्र तू शराब नहीं पीनी कभी don't drink. My mother asked me for two things. Don't cut your hair, your beard, and don't drink. Without thinking too much, I said, Mom, done. I'll be doing that. Not an easy promise to keep. It's a tough one. But as I stand before you, I have kept till today. I have kept. You know, I was the first one, with God's grace, to do all the big shows in Toronto. All the mega shows were done by, people used to say, oh, Sardar cannot do that. They said, I was the first one to do the biggest show on the biggest stage of Air Canada Centre, where all the big Michael Jacksons and all the other shows, they happen, YouTube, everything, they happen there, Rihanna's and Drake's and all those shows happen here. There, I used to do the shows there, using the same technical directors which these Gora people used to use. I used to use on my South Asian Bollywood shows, and I made a lot of friends accordingly on that. I was also the first one to bring the Indian Bollywood cinema to multiplexes in Canada. And now, with God's grace, the cinema is playing everywhere from coast to coast in Canada. But the reason I'm telling you is that those two promises I made were not easy to keep, because during that process, I made some good friends with the in Bollywood. Salman is one good friend of mine, really good friend of mine. He always addresses me as Mr. Bhatia. And I'm not giving you this story not to brag about that I know these Bollywood stars, but at the end of the story you will understand, especially these young people sitting here, they will understand that you don't have to say yes to everything. Be ready to say no. Doesn't matter how big the star is or who it is. Don't give up your principles. The person who gives principle is a weak guy. They can have whatever wealth they can have, but at the end of the day, they are weak people. Salman, I was in New York. Salman was celebrating his birthday. There were a lot of stars there. I went there. I flew from Toronto. So at the midnight, Bhai, we call him Bhai. I think you must have known Bhai. Everybody calls him Bhai. So I said, Bhai comes to me and says, and here I'm chilling with a nice heroine from Bollywood, and he pulls me away. So anyway, you didn't get that. I guess I was sitting with the Bollywood, the actress, and he pulls me away. He comes and he says, Bhatia Sahab, we got to toast. It's my birthday. I took him to the suite. It was a suite, very lavish suite. So I took him to the kitchen. I said, Bhai, you have met my mother, because one of the shows, he came down where my mother was sitting to touch her feet. Salman Khan came, to touch my mother's feet, so he knew my mom. I said, Bhai, I'm going to toast with you. But all the sin which is going to happen, all the path is going to go to you. You know what? I've never seen Salman emotional with some tears. He said, Bhatia Sahab, आज के बाद आपको मैं कभी भी ये नहीं कहूँगा. And since that day, he came last year to Toronto, and I met him. We had a Diet Coke together. So it's not easy to say Salman Khan, he rules the Bollywood world right now. Nobody can say no to him. But till now, he doesn't drink or smoke in front of me. I just want to tell you, have, as a Sikh, the power to say no. You don't have to do what everybody is doing. People respect you more. I'm going to give you another story here. As you know, I know almost 95% of all the players in the league, basketball league. I chill with them, I party with them, I talk to them, they're like my kids now. A lot of players call me dad now, actually. One day, and there were some people saying not to drive taxi and all that. There's nothing wrong in driving a cab. We should believe, the Sikhs believe in dignity of labor. You know, that's what we believe in, Krit Kamai. And that's a Krit Kamai. One day, a player landed up in Toronto. And he took a limousine. And that limousine was driven by my brother, another Sikh fellow. He was driving him. And this guy's a big black guy, 7 foot, 300 pounds, you know, big guy. And he's driving, and of course my brother says, hey, you know, do you know the super fan? He said, yeah, who doesn't know super fan? Everybody knows now Bhatia. He said, oh, I'm his brother also. You know, and this guy told me the story. The guy told him, the player is talking to the cab driver now. He's talking to him. He says, how can you be his brother? You don't have a beard or a turban? Unfortunately, this guy answered him wrong. He said, oh, we are allowed to cut. No, we are not allowed. It says to us, we are not allowed to cut our hair. If we do, there might be another reason or majburi or whatever. But guys, you know, we don't have to dilute ourselves. God made us, Guru Maharaj made us so handsome. Anyway, so the promises sometimes are difficult. And sometimes people start questioning that, hey, you're calling yourself a Sikh, but where are you Sikh from? You know, I mean, people, because identity is very important. Branding is very important. If the Apple phone doesn't have an apple in the back, are you going to say that it's an Apple phone? It's not. Guys, anyway, moving along. I came here to Canada in '84 after the Sikh riots. I was the first one in the family after the riots to arrive to Toronto, Canada. And I rented a basement for $350, and I was the happiest man in my life, you know, because I was in a safe country. You know, we all come basically with nothing, you know, it's an immigrant story. So, but finding a job was very difficult. I went to 200 jobs, interviews, taking a bus, spending the whole day, and couldn't get a job. Finally, I got a job as a car salesman. And there were a lot of advisors to me, people saying, oh, you know, the people who did, I had another couple of guys who came, who were engineers also, and they cut their hair, and they're still on $50,000, $60,000 job in Vancouver and other places. But God bless them also. I'm not putting them down in any way. But I'm saying, I had promised my mother. We Sikhs keep our promises and commitment. We are known for that. Like Guneet said, we are the most honest people. We are the most trustworthy people. You go to India, people, the Gora people say, if you want to go to the right place at the right price, hire a taxi driven by a Sikh. You heard that, right? All of you guys? Guys, anyway, the job was given to me the very first day when I went to the car sales job. I was called name, Packy, towel head, linen head, all those things, you know, I was given that name. I didn't get upset. I didn't call it discrimination either. I was the only Sikh in the car business. I was one of the very first Sikhs to get a break in the car business. But on that day, I decided one thing. I got to be working harder than hard in order to succeed in that environment. And I went back to my ardas and I asked God to help me out. You know, in the first 3 months, I sold 127 cars. That was a record then, and it still is a record today. Because Sikhs are born, like Dr. Saab said, entrepreneurs. So we know how to deal people. Dealing people is also, and being a good entrepreneur. You're selling yourself, you're selling the car. So it is. I want to give you one story. One day, a customer came. Anybody working in the car business here? salesmen usually get their turns. If there are 10 salesmen on the floor, everybody gets a turn. It was my turn. This Dora guy, Caucasian guy, comes, well dressed. And so was I, well dressed also, but it was 30 years ago. I was a car salesman at the time, but I had a beard and turban. And he was uncomfortable, and I could sense it. I don't have a PhD or anything in psychology, but I have a PhD in common sense. Like he said, we got to, degrees are not that important. So anyway, anyway, I asked my manager, I said, what? Bruce, there was a Clark McGowan was the name of my manager. Very tough guy, Irish guy. Anyway, I told him, I said, hey, I'm okay with it. I don't want any money out of this deal. Because usually, if another salesman helps, and if it's your turn, you get half the money. I said, no, I don't need any money, but I request you one thing, that when he comes to pick up the car, I want to deliver it. He agreed. So he gave him a nice all-white salesman, and he bought a car, and the car was being bought was for his daughter's birthday. So he was going to come on Friday, and the car was prepared and everything, and that salesman left earlier than when the car was supposed to be delivered. Lord behold, when he came to pick up the car, manager said, Mr. Bhatia is going to help you out. And I helped him out. I served him. I was very courteous to him. I didn't get upset with him or even shown him a even tiny pity that I'm upset because he didn't buy the turban, because I knew it was prejudice. But you know what? They don't know anything. Sikhs, we are different, we look different, but inside the passion of whole humanity is the same. All humanity wants to be treated nice and fairly and share the love and all that. Anyway, I treated him, I gave him a coffee, I fixed him with everything. I had even bought some cookies that day for him, which were not available at the sale. So I bought that. I treated him like a silver dollar, man. You know, he was so happy. You know what happened? The next week, he sent me a customer. And after that, he sent me 5 customers. Because he didn't know about us. So guys, it is very important to keep our identity if we want the organizations like this to help us and make a better community within the city, within the state, within the country. We got to do that. It's very important. Anyway, on that day, I was the top. Soon after that, I was promoted the car to be the manager. I was considered to be the top gun manager in the country, in Canada. Very soon, the Honda head office said, now we have a dealership which is failing and ailing in Mississauga. It's near Brampton, it's near, and they asked me if I would take up the job as a general manager. I was on for it. I was ready to take the risk in my life. I went for the interview. The owner said, you know, you got to take off the turban. This is a very white neighborhood. I said, no, sir. Mr. Yates was the president. I said, Mr. Yates, what I'll do is, you are bankrupt anyway in 6 months. I'm here to turn the place around. And I knew I could do it. You know, I had an attitude at that time. I'm a human being, you know, you get an attitude. When you're good, you get an attitude, you know. Which is not right, but I did have it. So I said, look, why don't you do me one thing? I'm going to sign you a paper that I'll resign if the place is not turned around. And you have to pay me 0. He was excited. So I took the job. The very first day I'm coming there as a general manager, and I thought, you know, I'm the general manager, you know, of a big corporation, big dealership. Guess what? All my sales folks resigned, most of them. I had 10 salespeople, 8 resigned. They didn't want to work something with weird and at that time. I have a guy who still is here after 32 years with me right now, a white Irish guy. But he's a lucky guy, you know. I mean, now he praises about the Sikhs, you know, all the time to everybody. So he has become an ambassador for the Sikhs because he has worked for 32 years with me. Anyway, I took the job, and that place became the number one place. After that, in 95, I was comfortable at the time. I bought a 3,000 square feet home. I had 3 company cars and all that, paid gas and everything kind of thing. All those good things, you know. I was on the top, you know, I was on the top of the world. And then, one day, I found out that the Raptors, how many people know about the Raptors, Toronto Raptors? Woo! The Toronto Raptors is the NBA basketball team. NBA is a multi-billion-dollar company. And it's a very, I'm going to talk about them a little bit too. I bought 2 tickets at the time. Now I have 10 tickets. At that time I could only afford 2, but now I have 10, and 6 of them are the most prestigious seats in any arena. They are the courtside 6 seats. And anybody of you have seen the game? You have seen me sitting there on the courtside, where every referee comes, the players comes. You know, all the players, they have to come and hug me before the start of the game. At the end of the game, the referees have to ask if the calls were right or not, because I made. My very first time there, I was cheering, so I was a younger guy in 96, 97. Very first time I was being ejected from the game. When a referee feels that the person is, you know, I was cheering on Lord, I was making noise, I was calling. I call names, but I don't. I'll tell a player, hey, your legs have no juice. But I don't call the names here and there. When they're doing a free throw, I'll throw a towel or something. So, you know, one referee comes and he thought I was drunk because I was making noise. So he asked the security to pull me out. And then the security came. He says, this guy doesn't drink. He makes the people leave the drinks, man. He asks them to give up the drinks. He doesn't drink at all. So now everybody in the NBA knows I don't drink or anything. So they have all access for me and my manager wherever we go. So that is because of this. Because I'm identified that they're good people. They're clean people. Anyway, on that day, that's the story which was seeing me, a Sikh guy. I'm playing the New York Knicks. There was a player by the name of Ewing. How many people know Ewing, Patrick Ewing? Good guy, he's a good guy. Patrick Ewing came, and I was picking up on the free throw. You know, he always had things his knees were not good. So he was throwing, and I always used to make fun of him. And he said, what you got against me? He's a good friend of mine now. But at that time, so, you know, everybody saw, all the opposing teams. Shaq O'Neal will come and say, hey, don't pick on me. My free throws are as it is no good. I don't want to miss the 1 out of 8 anyway. So, you know, I made friends that way by talking to them. And Isaiah Thomas was our general manager and vice president, and he called me one day in front of 20,000 people and said, in the halftime, I don't want you to go anywhere. Stay on your seat. I said, okay. And he called me in the middle of the arena and presented me with a jersey, #1, super fan #1. And I became the face of the Raptors. This turban guy, linen head, or turban head, whatever you want to call it, became the face of the Raptors. Everything was good for me, but one day, and this is for the people who are concerned with the taxi. One day, I went to fix my phone at Bell Mobility. And I entered. There was nobody else, but there was a guy. If you remember, as 15, 16 years ago, there used to be a small desk with the courtesy phones sitting on the corners. So he's talking, and he's saying, I think he's talking to his wife. He's saying, honey, I got to go, my cab is here. And I looked around. I guess he assumed me to be a cab. I didn't get upset at him. Now the main thing is for you to understand. I didn't get upset at him. Instead, I told him, no sir, I'm not a cab driver, I'm also getting my phone fixed. But on that day, I came back and I said, I got to do something. Doesn't matter how much money I have to spend, how many resources I have to spend, but I'm going to do something because I'm sick of these committees in the Gurdwara who are not doing much for us to integrate in the mainstream. This is what we can do. This is what we need also here. And I will need some time because I'm going to talk to you something very sensitive and important today. I went to Raptors and I started a SACC Day game where I bought 5,000 tickets. And I brought not just the Sikhs from Khalsa school. And I told them, give me as many kids you can give me with a juda. As many kids, and others also, but give me, because I wanted to portray those juda kids with the players. When you go into the game, first starting of the game, the players give you high five to the kids. And I wanted those 20 kids to be with the juda. And that's what I did. I started my mission, my passion on that day. On that day, I decided it's not important to me. I don't judge anybody by how many millions of dollars he has. I don't judge them by that. That doesn't impress me even. Or what cars they drive, or what do they do, and all that doesn't. Just tell me how many kids you reach out to. That's what impresses me. Because kids are all together. Kids are our next generation for our city, for our country. The kids are our next generation. So I brought the Muslim kids, I brought the black kids, because I want them to talk about basketball. When they're sitting together and the game is going, I want them to talk, the Sikh kids talking to the black kids, white kids, Chinese kids, Japanese kids, talk about basketball. And when they go to school next day, what do they talk about? Oh, the Raptors lost, or Raptors won, or whatever it is, they talk about that. In this way, the kids start thinking, hey, they look different, but sure, their passion is still the same, just like anybody of all of us. In Toronto, we have been able to do that now. We have been able to do for a long time. We have been doing for 15 years. And people tell me all the time that now you spend so much money and you are this and you are an addict and all that. But this is my passion, is to integrate my community, especially the Sikh community, into the mainstream, so that they can understand us better. And I think we have been very successful with that, because this year I had an opportunity, because Raptors went deep into the playoff. We went to the Eastern Final, so I had the opportunity to go to Indiana, Miami, and Cleveland. And if you know, in Indiana, when I went to a restaurant, and the guy said, he's whispering and asking, who are they? Is he a Muslim? What? And then I talked to him. I explained we are Sikhs. And the next time I went there, he said, oh, you are the super fan. He had everything on me and about the Sikhs. And he said, we love you, what you do. So that changed the perception. That changed the perception. I believe we got to do the same thing in Tri-State. And we used to help. We need help from each one of you. I think there is enough resources and energy in this room that we can do that. And he approached me 4 years ago, I came here and Raptors were playing Brooklyn Nets. And I went there. I was surprised to see that there were hardly 20 or 30 South Asians in the playoff game with the NBA. And there were 350 people and 200 Sikh kids from Toronto who drove all night long to come to the game. So there were more Raptors fans than the Brooklyn South Asian fans. So, and we had a very good meeting, and you can go on the YouTube and you can see how the people gave me the love and everything. There was a line for 2 hours standing there, taking the pictures and all that. I have a lot of passion for this. I spend a lot of money and energy on it. And people call me addict. They call me addict. The definition of addict is who does whatever he wants. He wants to borrow. And I am an addict, actually. You know why? Because I fulfill all the definition of an addict. And my wife reminds me that every day, that you are an addict. Because I miss her anniversaries, I miss her birthday. If there is a basketball game, I don't do anything. Basketball game is important, not just for my entertainment, but what it has given me to connect my community, the Sikhs, to the mainstream. So I appreciate that. And I'm lucky in one way, that she hasn't given me a choice yet. That you can keep the basketball passion or you can keep me. She hasn't given me that threat yet. But, so anyway, guys, this is my passion. And it has given us. Right now, I welcome anybody to come to Air Canada Centre to watch a basketball game. And if you are wearing a turban, you are treated like a king there. If you have a beard and turban, you are treated like a king because everybody thinks. Because everybody thinks, oh, these are now relative. I'm going to give you one story. About 2 years ago, one guy explained. A young guy, I have a parking where the players have the parking. I have a special pass. So I get a special parking. And I was going out after the game, and the gatekeeper comes and says, hey, super fan, today your nephew was here. And I gave him the $40 parking for nothing, and he's good looking like you. I said, thank you very much. I go ahead and park the car for a minute. I said, shoot, today, young guy, somebody with turban and beard has called me the uncle. My uncle is here, now Bhatia is my uncle, and he got a free parking. So these are the benefits. I have been approached by NBA to do something in Brooklyn next. I want to bring a lot of Sikhs in the next 3-4 years. It doesn't happen overnight, but I'm going to be coming up with a plan because I feel this is the right platform for us to connect in the mainstream. Connecting in the mainstream means more jobs for our younger generation. The reason being, because they will know about the Sikhs. I just got invited by the head of the CIBC CEO, whose son is a big fan of mine, to come and have a lunch at the 80th Tower in downtown in Toronto. Why are they giving me? Not because of me, because of my soul. It's all the blessings of Guru Gobind Singh Ji. So guys, I'm just sharing this with you that we got to do the same thing what we have done in Toronto. In Canada today, my younger brother, my brother, I call him brother, Hardeep Singh Sargent, is the defense minister, turban, good Sikh guy. We have five ministers, Sikh ministers, where I work, it's about 35-40 minutes on a highway. It's called a QEW to go to Air Canada Centre. And the game is at 7 o'clock. And the rush is bumper to bumper. And my record is 21 years, never missed a game, never been late for a game, and never left a game early. So I'm late for the game, and I'm getting nervous. Oh, shoot, my record is broken today. I'm gone. Because referees usually don't start the game till they see me. Anyway, I was late. I did something very wrong. I confess to that. I did something very wrong. I drove on the shoulder to go to the game. And what do I see? I almost made it, and I see the light, the cop car behind me, and I got stopped. I have to stop. I don't want to be shot, So, but that's wrong. Sikhs shouldn't break the law. That's bad. But anyway, I did. I'm confessing it. I did, and the guy comes. He said, what are you doing there? I said, He said, oh shit, aren't you the super fan now, Bhatia? I said, yes, I am. He says, look, I'm going to let you go today, but don't do it again. He escorted me all the way to Air Canada Centre. Thank you very much. Thank you.